Many stars who once lit up Hollywood's brightest screens ended up in poverty and loneliness despite their fame. These are stories of legends who faced sudden and heartbreaking falls from grace. Some of the most admired actors of the Golden Age, known for their dazzling performances and huge fan followings, lost everything and struggled to survive after their careers declined. Their lives reveal a harsh reality: success on screen doesn't always protect against financial hardships or personal despair. As we explore their journeys, we see how fame can sometimes hide the pain behind the glamour. Factors such as addiction, financial mismanagement, or industry neglect played a role in their downfall. These stories remind us that even those who seem invincible can face unexpected hardships. Their struggles serve as a stark contrast to the shining images they once portrayed on the big screen, and reveal a different side of Hollywood's golden glow. Though her voice is legendary, and her performances unforgettable, Judy Garland's life was filled with struggles that often overshadowed her talent. From a young age, she was pushed into the spotlight and shaped by the strict and sometimes cruel studio system. She gained fame as Dorothy in the classic film The Wizard of Oz, a role that made her a household name. Yet behind her charming smile and sweet voice, she was a girl under constant pressure to perform perfectly. The studio management was demanding, controlling her diet and appearance closely. They even gave her amphetamines to boost her energy and keep her weight down, a habit that became a lifelong struggle. Her personal life was full of heartbreaks, as she married 5 times, with each marriage troubled by problems such as infidelity and financial issues. Poor money management and dishonest agents led her to debt, exacerbated by unpaid taxes. Despite her fame, she often worked intensely, taking on many performances to make ends meet. When she died in 1969 at the age of 47 from a barbiturate overdose, she was living in a rented house in London with almost nothing left. Her funeral was arranged by friends who cared. People mourned her because of her talent, but many did not see or understand the pain she endured. Garland's story shows how fame can hide personal suffering, and how difficult it was for her to find peace. After achieving fame as one of Hollywood's earliest child superstars, Jackie Coogan's life took a dramatic turn that changed many lives, but left him facing hardship. Discovered by Charlie Chaplin, Coogan became a household name with his role in The Kid. This silent film from 1921 still holds a special place in film history. By the time he was just 10 years old, Coogan was earning millions from movies, endorsements, and public appearances. He was seen as a symbol of innocence and joy during the lively years of the 1920s, often representing the carefree spirit of that era. However, despite his fame and wealth, Coogan's happiness was short-lived. When he grew older and sought to claim his earnings, he found that nearly all the money he had made had been taken by his mother and stepfather. They insisted that the money was a gift and not earned income, which left Coogan with almost nothing. Feeling betrayed, he took legal action against his family, which eventually led to the creation of the California Child Actors Bill, now called the Coogan Act. This law was designed to protect other child performers from suffering the same financial abuses Coogan experienced. Despite this new law, Coogan never recovered the fortune he had earned when he was a child. Later in life, he joined the military during World War II and continued working in television, with his most famous role being Uncle Fester in The Addams Family in the 1960s. Coogan kept acting for many years, but his wealth and fame were rooted in his childhood. His story is one of both tragedy and positive change, as his suffering prompted important protections for other young actors, even as he lived with scars from his childhood betrayal and lost riches. Despite her fame in the 1930s as Darla Hood, a beloved star of The Little Rascals, she did not end her life in poverty or distress. During her time on the series, her expressive face, sharp wit, and singing voice made her a favorite among audiences, especially amid the hardships of the Great Depression. Many child stars struggled once their early fame faded, but Darla's story was different. After the Our Gang series finished, she chose to pursue music and voiceover work, appearing in commercials and on television. Her ability to adapt and stay professional helped her avoid the financial and personal troubles that many of her peers faced. She managed to live a stable, modest life, far from the chaos of Hollywood's darker side. Sadly, her life was abruptly cut short at age 47 when she contracted hepatitis from a blood transfusion after a routine surgery. Her death shocked her fans, yet there is no evidence that she suffered from poverty or hardship before her passing. Darla Hood's life was a rare example of a child star who successfully navigated fame, living with grace and resilience. She remains a memorable figure from Hollywood's golden age, remembered not just for her early work, but for her dignity and quiet strength later in life. Elvis Presley, known as the King of Rock and Roll, was more than just a music star. He was a powerful cultural symbol whose impact transformed the way people thought about music and performance. In the 1950s, Elvis's energetic and charismatic stage presence made him a sensation. His unique style combined elements of country, gospel, and rhythm and blues, creating a new sound that appealed to a wide audience. As his popularity grew, he also ventured into movies, starring in numerous films that helped boost his fame and income. Elvis also became famous for his Vegas residencies, where he performed regularly for large crowds, making him one of the highest-paid entertainers of his time. Despite earning vast amounts of money, Elvis's life was marked by extravagance. He loved giving gifts, especially Cadillacs, sometimes giving them to strangers or friends. He owned multiple houses and surrounded himself with a large group known as the Memphis Mafia, who were on his payroll. His taste for luxury included custom jewelry, private jets, and a costly estate called Graceland, which required significant upkeep. Over time, this lifestyle drained his finances. Elvis's manager, Colonel Tom Parker, played a major role in Elvis's financial issues. Parker made deals that benefited himself more than Elvis, such as signing away international tour rights and forcing Elvis into demanding Las Vegas contracts. These choices cost Elvis millions in potential earnings. By the time Elvis died in 1977, he was facing financial difficulties, battling drug addiction, and feeling lonely and isolated. It was his ex-wife, Priscilla Presley, who stepped in after his death to preserve his legacy. She decided to open Graceland to the public, making it a major tourist attraction worldwide. This decision helped ensure Elvis's memory would live on and created lasting financial security for their daughter, Lisa Marie Presley. Because of her efforts, the Presley estate became very valuable, and Elvis's fame and wealth grew even after his death. Without her work in managing his estate, Elvis's legacy might not have endured as strongly. Despite her status as a Hollywood icon, Lana Turner's life was filled with contradictions. She was discovered at a soda fountain, which sounds almost like a fairy tale, and she quickly became a star with her stunning blonde beauty and magnetic screen presence. Her films, including The Postman Always Rings Twice and Peyton Place, cemented her position as one of MGM's brightest stars, captivating audiences with her charm and sensuality. However, behind the glamorous facade, her personal life was turbulent. She married 7 times, each marriage often splashed across tabloids, and she became involved in a scandal that shocked the nation, the 1958 incident when her teenage daughter Cheryl Crane stabbed Turner's boyfriend, Johnny Stompanato, a known Stompanato, a mobster. This event was devastating both emotionally and professionally, almost ending her career. Yet she managed to recover and give some of her best performances later. Throughout her life, Turner demonstrated a savvy sense of money management, carefully handling her estate and avoiding the excesses that many other stars succumbed to. As she grew older, she lived modestly, despite her fame, and preserved her dignity. When she died of throat cancer in 1995, her estate was well managed, and her legacy endured as a woman who survived Hollywood's harsh realities and personal chaos, emerging with her integrity intact. Her story reflects resilience and strategic life choices that kept her legacy alive long after her star faded from the screen. Despite her stunning beauty and rising fame, Barbara La Mar's life was filled with struggles that eventually led her to a tragic end. She was once the biggest star of the silent film era, known for her fiery looks and her dramatic presence on screen that earned her the nickname, "The Girl Who Is Too Beautiful." During her short career, she appeared in over 30 films and quickly became very popular with audiences. People saw her as a symbol of glamour and Hollywood's new age of stardom. However, her rapid rise was balanced by an even faster decline. La Mar's lifestyle was chaotic, marked by lively parties and a busy social calendar. She often went to multiple parties in one night and stayed awake for days at a time. Her personal life was full of romance, with 5 marriages, and filled with scandals. She struggled with substance abuse, which was common among stars at that time, and she often engaged in unhealthy dieting practices. Her emotional state was unstable, and the pressures of Hollywood, combined with her demanding work schedule, strained her health. Her physical condition worsened, and in 1925, while still in her 20s, she collapsed on a film set. She never fully recovered from her health issues. She died from tuberculosis and nephritis at the age of only 29. Worn down by years of stress and overexertion. At the time of her death, Barbara was in deep debt because she had spent more money than she earned, and did not receive much from her films after they were made. Her legacy endured despite her early death, as she remained an enduring symbol of Hollywood glamour and tragedy. Her films continued to be credited posthumously, and she inspired countless actresses who dreamed of stardom. Yet beneath her glamorous image was a young woman who had been consumed by the very industry that made her famous, making her story one of early Hollywood's most heartbreaking tales. Barbara Payton's rise and fall is one of Hollywood's most tragic stories. She was a stunning blonde who caught the attention of movie makers early on. She quickly moved up the ranks and gained fame with her role in Kiss Tomorrow Goodbye, where she acted alongside James Cagney. Many thought she was on her way to becoming a legendary star. For a short time, everything looked promising for her bright future. But her private life was full of chaos and trouble. She got involved in scandalous relationships, including with actors Franchot Tone and Tom Neal. Their love triangle made headlines, especially when Neal violently assaulted Tone, leaving him in a coma. Her reputation in Hollywood suffered greatly, and it became difficult to find acting work. She struggled with alcohol and drug addiction, especially barbiturates, which made her life even harder. To support her addiction, she turned to sex work and was jailed multiple times. Her once glamorous life turned into a cycle of arrests, homelessness, and health problems. Barbara's health worsened, and in 1967, she died from heart and liver failure at just 39 years old. She died alone, and in poverty, her promising career gone. Her story remains a powerful reminder of how quickly fame can fade, and how personal struggles can take over. She is remembered as a tragic figure who lost everything despite her early success. After gaining fame as a child, Bobby Driscoll's story took a tragic turn that highlights the dark side of Hollywood's treatment of young stars. Discovered by Walt Disney himself, Driscoll quickly became a beloved figure for his talent and charm in the late 1940s and early 1950s. He starred in films like Song of the South and Treasure Island, but he was best known for providing the voice and live-action movements of Disney's Peter Pan. His performances earned him a special Juvenile Academy Award, a recognition of his exceptional talent at a young age. However, as he entered adolescence, everything changed. Puberty altered his voice and appearance, causing Hollywood to lose interest. Disney suddenly dropped his contract, leaving him without roles and with a sense of abandonment. The bright star who once lit up screens was now discarded. Overwhelmed by rejection, Driscoll turned to drugs as a teenager, starting with heroin, and his life spiraled into addiction and criminal activity. His efforts to rehabilitate and find new purpose failed repeatedly. In search of a fresh start, he moved to New York and tried to immerse himself in the avant-garde art scene, even associating with figures like Andy Warhol. Yet, his inner demons and mental health issues persisted, and he struggled for years. In 1968, Bobby Driscoll's life ended alone in an abandoned building in the East Village. No one knew who he was, and his body was left unclaimed. He was buried in a pauper's grave on Hart Island, with only a nameless marker. A year later, his mother reached out to Disney, seeking information, and his remains were finally identified. Once destined for Hollywood greatness, he was soon forgotten, overshadowed by sorrow and neglect, serving as a harsh reminder of how fleeting fame can be, and how little Hollywood sometimes cares for its young stars once they are no longer profitable. Initially celebrated as more than just a boxing champion, Joe Louis was seen by many as a shining star who brought hope to a nation divided by race. Known widely as the Brown Bomber, he was a dominant figure in the boxing world during the 1930s and 1940s, holding the heavyweight title for nearly 12 years, which is the longest reign ever in that division. His victory in 1938 over the German boxer Max Schmeling was more than just a sports moment. It symbolized democracy's strength over fascism at a time when the world was on the brink of war. Louis' achievements helped break racial barriers, inspiring countless black athletes, and proving that talent and determination could challenge social limitations. However, despite his fame and the substantial earnings he made during his career, Louis' life after boxing was fraught with financial troubles. He was generous to family and friends, often giving away money and donating to military charities, especially during World War II. Unfortunately, the IRS did not forgive the taxes owed on his exhibition matches, and Louis' limited understanding of finances made him vulnerable to dishonest advisors and poor investments. As the interest and penalties accumulated, his tax debt grew into millions, a sum he could never pay off. To survive, Louis took on jobs that seemed unimaginable for a former champion, refereeing wrestling matches, working as a casino greeter, and even working at Caesar's Palace in Las Vegas. Throughout his later years, Louis maintained a dignified and gracious public image, but privately struggled with depression, substance abuse, and feelings of betrayal, feeling abandoned by the very systems that had celebrated his greatness. When he died in 1981, the government still had not forgiven his tax debt. Nonetheless, he was honored with full military rights and buried in Arlington National Cemetery through the personal effort of President Ronald Reagan. Louis's legacy as a fighter in the ring remains untouchable in sports history. Yet his life also illustrates the harsh realities faced by many black heroes who were not protected by social safety nets or financial guidance, revealing the tragic cost of misplaced trust and systemic neglect. Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle was once known as one of the biggest stars of the silent film era, a man who made audiences laugh with his skillful comedy and charming personality. He worked alongside greats like Buster Keaton and helped new actors such as Bob Hope develop their careers. Arbuckle had a gentle nature and excellent comedic timing, which helped him become a household name in the 1910s. During this time, he made a lot of money and had a large influence on Hollywood, known for his talent and fame. However, everything changed in 1921 when he was accused of a crime that shocked the nation. He was accused of raping and killing Virginia Rappe, an aspiring actress, during a party at a hotel in San Francisco. Despite the fact that he went through 3 trials and was eventually found not guilty, the damage to his reputation was done. The media painted him as guilty, and the public turned against him completely. Hollywood, wanting to protect its image, blacklisted him, and he was unable to find work in movies. His legal battles and loss of income drained his wealth, leaving him in debt. To keep working in the film industry, he tried directing movies using a false name. Later, he was given a chance for a comeback in the early 1930s when he signed a contract with Warner Brothers to star in a new film. Sadly, on the very day he signed that contract, he died suddenly from a heart attack while sleeping at just 46 years old. His death marked the end of his life in poverty and disgrace, and many people remember him more for the scandal than for the laughter he once brought to millions. Arbuckle's story is a reminder of how quickly fame can fade and how tragic it can be when a person's life is marred by controversy he did not cause. Despite being the original powerhouse behind the Supremes, Florence Ballard's story is one of talent overshadowed by pain. Her strong, soulful voice and magnetic presence helped create a group that would change music forever. She was crucial in laying the foundation for the success of the Supremes, a Motown girl group that became a symbol of the 1960s. Yet, behind the bright lights and #1 hits, her life took a dark turn. Tensions grew within the group as Diana Ross gained prominence and Florence's role diminished gradually. In 1967, under pressure from Motown's leaders and feeling increasingly resentful, she was forced out. She signed away her rights to the name The Supremes for a small sum, cutting herself off from potential royalties and recognition. While Ross enjoyed her solo fame, Florence sank into depression, struggling to provide for her family with welfare payments. Her attempts to revive her solo career were troubled by legal issues, health problems, and little industry support. She battled alcoholism, faced severe financial hardship, and was once evicted from her home. Although she performed at a small show in the mid-1970s, she never came back to her former success. Tragically, she died of a heart attack in 1976, only 32 years old. Her story of downfall inspired the character Effie White in the film Dreamgirls, reflecting a real-life tale of talent lost and discarded by a machine that no longer valued her. Billie Holiday's voice was unlike any other, haunting, raw, and deeply expressive. Her songs like Strange Fruit and God Bless the Child went beyond simple entertainment. They became powerful reflections of injustice, pain, and resilience. Despite her remarkable talent and influence on jazz music, her life was filled with tragedy, betrayal, and systemic abuse. She grew up in poverty and experienced trauma early in her childhood, which shaped her intense emotional singing style. As she became famous, she struggled with addiction to drugs and alcohol. She used these substances to help cope with the harsh realities of racism, misogyny, and exploitation she faced throughout her career. Authorities often arrested her for drug possession, targeting her because her music, especially her performance of Strange Fruit, openly addressed the painful history of lynching in America. Instead of support, she was blacklisted from popular venues, which limited her earning capacity and left her in constant financial trouble. During her final days, she was hospitalized for liver and heart problems. Yet, even then, she was not left in peace. Police officers placed her under arrest, handcuffing her to her hospital bed, and denying her visitors. She died at the young age of 44, with only 70 cents in her pocket, and no royalties from the records that earned millions for others. Her legacy endures as one of the most influential and emotionally powerful figures in American music. Her life story is a stark reminder of how society often mistreats its most talented voices. Mickey Rooney's career was one of the longest and most productive in Hollywood history. He started acting when he was very young, during the silent film era, and continued working into the 2010s. Over his lifetime, Rooney appeared in more than 300 movies and many television shows. When he was a teenager, he became the highest-paid actor in America because of his success with the popular Andy Hardy movies, which made him a household name. Rooney had a natural talent that made people laugh and cry. He was good at comedy, music, and drama, and he worked alongside many famous stars like Judy Garland and Elizabeth Taylor. He enjoyed a level of fame that many actors only dream of, and he became a legendary figure in Hollywood. But behind the bright lights, his personal life was full of difficulties. He was married 8 times, and each divorce added to his financial problems. He trusted the wrong people with his money, which led to cases of fraud and mismanagement by family members and caretakers. At one time, Rooney said he only had a few dollars left, even though he had earned millions during his career. Later in life, Rooney spoke out against elder abuse and testified before Congress about how he suffered abuse and financial exploitation in his later years. His final years were very humble, far from the fame and wealth he once had. When he died in 2014 at the age of 93, his estate was worth less than $20,000. He was buried in a simple grave in Hollywood Forever Cemetery, with friends and fans helping to pay for his funeral. Even with a career that lasted nearly 100 years, Mickey Rooney's last days show that money and fame do not always protect someone from hardship. Despite his legendary status and his unforgettable performances in films like Captain Blood and The Adventures of Robin Hood, Errol Flynn's life off-screen tells a different story. He was considered the embodiment of Hollywood's golden age charm, known for his handsome face, brave nature, and irresistible charisma that captivated audiences worldwide. His on-screen adventures made him a symbol of excitement and romance, earning him international fame. However, Flynn's personal life was filled with excess and scandal. He loved living large, buying yachts, estates, and hosting extravagant parties that matched his flamboyant personality. He was also known as a womanizer and heavy drinker, which contributed to a wild lifestyle that often got him into trouble. In 1943, Flynn faced a serious scandal with a high-profile statutory rape trial. Although he was found not guilty, the trial hurt his reputation a lot. The legal battles, combined with alimony from multiple divorces and his lavish spending habits, drained his money quickly. As he aged and his good looks faded, finding acting roles became harder, and he tried to make some money by leasing his beloved yacht in Vancouver. Sadly, in 1959, at just 50 years old, Flynn suffered a fatal heart attack while living in financial decline. He died deeply in debt, with his estate burdened by taxes and unresolved lawsuits. The actor who once played daring heroes and romantic leads ended his life broken and impoverished, leaving behind a legacy that contrasts sharply between his glamorous image and his troubled final years. Following his rise to fame, Burt Reynolds was once the highest-grossing actor in the whole world. He had an easy charm and a strong, macho look that made him well-liked by many. His natural comedic timing and presence on screen made him a star, especially during the 1970s and 80s. Films like Smokey and the Bandit, Deliverance, and The Longest Yard helped boost his reputation and brought him a large fan base. At his height, Reynolds earned millions of dollars for each film he starred in. Besides acting, he bought multiple properties and even invested in a professional football team, showing his taste for luxury and success. However, even with his outward appearances of wealth and stability, Reynolds' financial situation was not as secure as it seemed. He made some poor investments, including a chain of restaurants that failed and a theater in Florida that struggled. His lifestyle was extravagant, with private jets, ranches, and luxury items purchased often on impulse, without considering the long-term costs. His marriage to actress Lainey Anderson, which was once glamorous, ended up in a bitter and costly divorce that drained more of his money. By the early 1990s, Reynolds declared bankruptcy, owing over $10 million. He had to sell many of his prized possessions, including his estate, which was his personal favorite. Over the next years, he took smaller acting jobs just to keep going, never returning to the wealth he once had. Although he experienced a career revival with the movie Boogie Nights, which even got him an Oscar nomination, he never fully recovered financially. When he died in 2018, reports showed that Reynolds was still facing financial hardship. His story shows how quickly fame and fortune can fade, even for stars who seemed invincible at the time. Despite their shining moments on screen, the stories of these actors show that fame can be fleeting and fragile. Many of these stars faced difficult times after their careers slowed down or ended, highlighting how success does not guarantee lasting happiness or stability. Their lives tell us that behind the glamour, struggles like addiction, poor financial choices, and lack of support can lead to hard times. It's a reminder that even the most famous can face loneliness and financial hardship when their star dims. These stories help us see that Hollywood's golden glow often hides the personal battles that many actors fought behind the scenes. By remembering their lives, we learn the importance of compassion and understanding for those who have given us so much joy and entertainment. Their experiences serve as a powerful reminder that success is often more complex than it appears, and that no one is immune from life's hardships.